Welcome to How to Teach Right Start Math, Level B. My name is Eve Hullett, and we'll be walking through some features of Level B today. Okay, some quick things about your webinar. Make sure that everybody's sound is muted. And if you have any questions, just use the chat box. Okay, placement guidelines. Who belongs in Level B? If your child's been through a solid kindergarten program, knows their addition facts to 10, Level B is the place for them. Okay, so what about Level A? Level A are for the students who haven't been through a solid kindergarten program, maybe a light introduction to addition, but still kind of working on that. Don't really know their facts to 10. And so they would go to Level A. For Level C, what we're looking for is, does your child know their addition facts? Even if they're not quick, if they can answer in 2 to 3 seconds, they understand the concept of addition. They know their facts up to 18, 7 plus 9, 6 plus 5, that they understand what's going on and can answer you. They understand place value. They understand that 10 ones is 110. 10 tens is 100. 10 hundreds is 1,000. Then they are ready for Level C. Otherwise, let's look at Level B. Okay, what do you need for Level B? If everybody needs the book bundle, the RS2 up there just stands for second edition, and it's going to look just like this. You're going to have a lesson book, your worksheets, and appendix pages. These are pages that are actually in the back of your lesson book, but we've gone ahead and done the photocopying you needed. If they're needed to be on hard cardstock, they're already done for you. And then also your yellow is a sun book. If you're new to Right Start, then you will also want to get the math set. These are all the manipulatives, the card game book, decks of cards, everything you need to teach your child all the way through Level F. Okay, what are the objectives of Level B? You'll find this in the front of your lesson book, just a list of objectives, and you can see the different categories: numeration, place value, addition, subtraction, problem solving, geometry, measurement, fractions, time, money, calculator. These are the topics under those categories that we'll be covering. If the squares that are white are the quarters that they will be covered in. So then you can kind of go through and see what's been covered. If there's something your child's struggling with or needs to address, you can go ahead and just kind of keep track of where you are. Okay, in the front of all the lesson books, 5 pages, and we want you to read them. They're super, super helpful. Just information on how the program was developed, the philosophy behind it, some general thoughts on teaching math, daily lessons, just how they're set up, tips. There's just some great information in here that it's actually really a good practice to just go ahead and read these pages at the beginning of each year and maybe halfway through the year, starting the next semester. The first time you read it, it'll be like, oh, okay. But the second time, more will stick out to you. You'll say, oh, okay, now I understand what they're saying, and that makes sense. That's what I need to make sure I'm doing. And so that's why we do that. So all of that's in those pages. So go ahead and just make sure you're reading that. Table of contents. So here's our table of contents. You can see the beginning lessons are going to be review lessons from Level A. And so the arithmetic concepts in A are going to be reviewed very quickly, and then we'll move on. You'll see there are some enrichment, kind of extra lessons in here that are interesting and just kind of expand on some of the ideas. There's also reviews and assessments, more enrichment, and then at the end, there's 140 lessons. There'll be some reviews of everything you've learned, along with assessments as well. Okay, this is how the lesson is formatted. we have our objectives. This is the goal for the lesson, and it's really helpful. I did not look here like I should have when I was teaching my own children, but it would have been really helpful because it shows, hey, we're just introducing this topic, or our goal here is to really have mastered it. You can go ahead and see what the purpose of the lesson is, and that can just kind of keep you, on the same page. Here's the materials you'll need. The activities are on the left. Any tips or explanations or extra information will be here on the right. Okay, here's our warm-up. Every day we'll have a warm-up. It'll be a pretty brief review of topics we've been working on, usually orally. A lot of times it's great to have a whiteboard, one of those small little whiteboards to work on that. And so that'll be right here. It'll tell you exactly what to do. Here it's telling you exactly what to ask, and the answer you're fishing for is right there in brackets. Now, here's a tip. An item listed in bold is not part of the Right Start material. So if you notice back up under materials, the two items are in bold. Those are items that are actually not in your math set. And so we're just giving you a heads up, hey, you may want to go and make sure you know where your scissors and glue are, or that you have a calendar available. So you can just notice if you see something in bold, that's something you're going to want to make sure you have. Okay. So now we go on. Today we're working with evens and odds. And so here's some different activities that are just going to help expose that concept for your student. And we have a worksheet today, and there's the answers for the worksheet and some tips about it. And then in conclusion, the conclusions, they might be a summary of the day's lesson or an opportunity to expand on the lesson kind of in a higher level of thinking. Okay, the lessons are designed to be done one per day, about 30 to 45 minutes per lesson. The one-on-one teaching time really should not be more than 30 minutes. More than that's not going to be productive. And then past that, if you're playing a game or whatever else, then, depending on your schedule, that's where it's going to go past that, or if your student has a little bit of independent work, which in level B there is not much independent work for them. But that's the time to allot. There's 140 lessons in the year. The initial are review lessons. There are enrichment lessons, quarterly assessments, and final assessments. So worksheet. Now, note about the worksheets. They are designed to be done independently. And math is a written language, and so the worksheets, while there aren't very many of them, they are going to be directly applicable to the lesson. And so what we want to do is we don't want to burden our students with hundreds of pages of worksheets and busy work. We want to go ahead and have them continue to enjoy their learning process. And so while mathematics is a written language, we are going to do that gently. What we're going to get the main review and practice is going to be in our card games. Another note about worksheets is you'll notice here on the copyright, the publisher hereby grants permission to reproduce the worksheets for a single child's use only. So if you happen to be using this for, say you have twins, for that second child, you'll need to go ahead and purchase an extra set of worksheets. Now, if you do have several children, it may actually be helpful to get the e-workbook. It's a little bit more, but you can print this for your whole family. So however many children you're going to use this for, then you can go ahead and use that for the whole household. Okay, now I mentioned games. They are just foundational to Right Start, and you're going to see them throughout level B. And the reason is because games are to math what books are to reading. They're going to provide the interesting repetition we need to get that automatic response. And they provide a way to apply the new information. So for example, when our kids are learning how to read, we don't give them flashcards and worksheets to practice. We give them books. And so we read to them, we read with them, we have them read, so that they see the importance and the value in learning how to read. And so that's the same thing. Games are a very easy way to apply that information in a social setting and just get the practice they need in that way. 15 minutes of a game equals 1 worksheet. And so the lessons are going to actually tell you what games to play. And then if you want extra practice and review, you can replay the curriculum games that you've played, or you have the card games book. So you can go ahead to the table of contents and find the topic you're interested in and pick out games that you would like to play. We also suggest keeping a game log. And here's what that looks like. These are in the front of the book as well. And so you can go ahead and put, oh, you know, today we played Go to the Dump, and Jonathan and Matthew are the ones that played it. And so you can kind of keep a record of the games you're playing and any notes that you want to make on that. Okay, I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about some things that are just foundational in the philosophy behind Right Start Math. And so one is because we all know how to add, we're going to take a second to look at what it looks like to add from a child's perspective. So again, we're familiar with 1, 2, and 3. So let's use letters. A will be 1, B will be 2, C will be 3, and so on. Okay, what's F plus E? All right, I'll help you out. Let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, now I need to add E. A, B, C, D, E. Okay, now a lot of times we want our kids to go from F and then start counting up to E, right? But a lot of times what they do is just start back. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Okay, great. The answer is K. And then we tell them memorize the facts. For the child who doesn't understand the quantities, this is what adding looks like when there's confusion there. The problem with counting is that it's not natural. It takes years of practice. It really provides a poor concept of quantity. It ignores place value, is very error prone. We've all had that experience of trying to count up coins or some sort of object and then say, oh, wait, let me go back. I think I missed one. It's tedious and time consuming, and it doesn't provide an efficient way to master the facts. So what do? Subitizing. Subitizing is just a fancy word for quickly recognizing a quantity without counting. Even small children can subitize small quantities. Miss Butterworth, who was a researcher, found that children who can subitize actually perform better in mathematics. And subitizing allows the child to grasp the whole and the elements at the same time. And finally, subitizing seems to be a necessary skill for understanding what the counting process actually means. So let's look at the AL Abacus. Now, there are a lot of different forms of Abacus. Abacus just means beads on a wire. This particular Abacus is grouped by 5s and 10s, and as far as I know, it's the only Abacus that actually has 2 sides. It's going to provide a visual and tactile manipulative for the kids to develop mental images for their quantities, their strategies, mathematical operations. It's going to promote subitizing. Okay, so let's look at what that looks like. So when we're starting out, we'll ask our kids, okay, show me 3. Yay! Okay, now show me 3 on the abacus. Okay, perfect. Now if they happen to go 1, 2, 3, then what we're going to do is just push it over and have them repeat that until they can just go ahead and see that quantity altogether. And then we'll say, oh, here's our symbol for 3. Okay, great. One thing that's important is that the kids understand that this is a symbol for 3, but this is actually what 3 is. And that seems like a small concepts, but for children starting out, that's huge to make sure that they understand that this is what 3 is, and this is just the symbol for 3. Okay, we'll clear. Okay, show me 5. Yay, it's all the hands. It's all the beads. And there's a symbol 5. Okay, clear. Show me 7, and you'll notice their left hand is 5. Their right hand is 2, just like the beads. Okay, great. There's no counting. I can see that that's 7. And there's my symbol for 7. And show me 10. Kids love 10. It's all the fingers. It's all the beads. And here's my symbol for 10. So what does adding look like on the abacus? Well, again, with our young ones, we start out with 4 and 3 is, hey, I've seen that before. That's 7. Oh, great. Now, we're going to move up to something a little more complicated this year. So let's look at one of the strategies that we'll get to show our kids. 9 plus 5. Okay, so one thing I could do is I could take this bead and trade it with that bead. Ready, set, trade. That was fair. Oh, I have 10 and 4, 14. Let's see that again with 9 plus 7. So what I'm trying to do is complete the 10 since 9 is so close to 10. I'm going to take and trade. Oh, that's 10 and 6, 16. Another strategy that can just really make things so clear is called the 2-5 strategy. So we have 8 plus 6. So right here we can see we have 10 and 4 more. It's 14. It's right there in front of us. And again, that's where the subitizing is so helpful because we've been able to see that 8 is 5 and 3, 6 is 5 and 1. And so that grouping by 5s just exposes the number right there where we can see that we do have 2 5s. So there's 10 and the 4 is left over. Okay, let's see that with 7 and 5. Okay, and again, oh, there's my 10 and 2 more. It's right there. Well, of course it's 12. Okay, so the abacus is going to provide that physical manipulative that we need to develop a mental image of our quantities. And so we're going to start with a real abacus, move on to more of an imaginary abacus, and finally to a mental stage. And so the real abacus is that physical abacus on your table that your child is moving and manipulating the beads with. Eventually, we'll move to more of an imaginary abacus, and this comes in 2 versions. The first, the child may have the abacus on the table, but they don't touch it. They just imagine the numbers being moved over and added together or whatever operation they're doing. Or sometimes kids also can have where they don't have an abacus available. They're imagining it, a lot of times looking up, and they can take their hand and move the imaginary beads over as they're thinking through whatever arithmetic they're doing. And then finally, we're moving to a mental abacus where there's no movement. You see the quantities, you understand what they are and how they fit together. Now, in your teacher's manual, it will suggest when to consider using a mental abacus. But one note of caution is if a child is struggling with a concept or counting, use the abacus. They need a little more time with that physical abacus to get that mental image and create that visual memory that they need. And so even if they've been doing really great and all of a sudden they just come to something that's harder, leave that abacus out as long as they need it. Okay, another foundational concept is transparent number naming, or the math way of naming numbers. A lot of times, children think of 14 as 14 ones instead of 10 and 4 ones. The pattern that's needed to make sense of 10s and 1s is hidden in our English language. So we're going to expose that for the kids. Just like reciting the alphabet doesn't teach reading, counting doesn't teach arithmetic. So when we're teaching our kids to read, we need them to know the sound of the letters. And so it's the same thing with math. Our kids need to understand what the quantities are. And so we're going to teach them that even in the way we say the numbers. So here's what it looks like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What comes next? 10, 1, 10, 2, 10, 3, 10, 4, all the way down to 10, 9. What comes after 10, 9? And you can just see this on the Abacus, 10, 9, 2 10s, 2, 10, 1, 2, 10, 2, 2, 10, 3, all the way down, 2, 10, 8, 2, 10, 9, 3, 10, all the way down, 9, 10, 9. All of a sudden, the place value is just obvious. So when you ask how many 10s are in 3, 10, 7, how many 10s are in 3, 10, 7, it's right there in the name. Well, there's 3. Our language doesn't hide any of that anymore. Only 11 words are needed to count to 100 the math way. But in English, we need 28. Asian language, so the kids who are learning in Asian countries, they actually learn math using the math way of counting. And studies show that they understand place value in first grade. Only half of U.S. children understand place value at the end of 4th grade. Math is a science of patterns. And so the patterned way of counting really helps our kids learn their number sense. So we say 300, 3,000, 3 million. Why not go ahead and say 310 and just let them see how the pattern flows? Here's an example of a worksheet. This is worksheet number 9. So you can actually see 5 plus 2 is 7. 510 plus 210 is 710. We move on down, 7 plus 2 and 710 plus 210. The pattern is right there, and we've gone ahead and exposed it for the kids so they can go ahead and do the arithmetic instead of mixing it up with our English language. And this is a temporary way. We tell them it's a special math way of counting. And so, and there are lessons that show the history behind our traditional English names as well. But this is what we're going to do at first, just to make sure that our place value is clear. Okay, another part that you're going to see in level B is the base 10 picture cards. And here's what they look like. So here, the 1, we have one little cube for 1, and here's 10. This represents 10, and you can see it's just like the Abacus with 5 light and 5 dark. And then here we have 100, so we have 10 rows of 10s, so that would almost be like a whole Abacus. So there's our 100, and then 1,000, so we have 10 hundreds. This would be like 10 Abacus stacked on top of each other. And so we work through with the students in the lesson book to introduce these concepts, and so that they're very familiar with that. And so then what we can do is we can add 4-digit numbers. So let's see how to add using base 10 picture cards. So we have 3,600, 510, 8 plus 2,700, 210, 4. So we have 3,600, 510, 8. You see how helpful that math way of counting is? And then we are going to have our 2,700, 210, 4. Okay, now let's add them together. Okay, great. Now, I could trade 10 ones. That's the same as 110. So I'm going to trade 10 ones for 110. And I'm going to trade 10 hundreds for 1,000. Okay, and there's nothing else I can trade. So let's see what we have. We have 6,300 and 810, or 82. There we go. We just added 2 4-digit numbers with no tiers. Once we're done with the base 10 cards, then we flip over our Abacus, and we can use the back of it for 4-digit place value and 4-digit addition on the back. Same with the same kind of trading and everything else. Recording our answers on paper, they can immediately see why that extra 1 was up there, because that was the extra 10 from trading 10 ones. And then they move seamlessly to doing their arithmetic on paper. Okay, now we do all of our printing in-house, and so when we find errors, we can correct them immediately. If there are typos or anything else like that, then we will post them online for you. You can find that under resources on our website and teaching support. You scroll down the page to corrections and get to the level you'd like, level B. And so you can see here up at the top, it says most recent update. And so if your book is printed after this date, then you're fine. If it's before, any of your corrections would be listed here. Here's the lesson or worksheet. Here's the date it was changed. And here's the correction or update that was made. Some other website treasures are under resources as well, pre-recorded webinars. Okay, so here's a whole list of different webinars that are available for you, which edition, how to teach the different levels, which you're actually listening to that one for level B right now. The Abacus, card games is great. It shows several card games being played, how to teach fractions all the way down. So this is a really good resource as well. Our blog is worth reading. Over the summer, some of the ladies have just written some really creative, helpful blogs on games. So if you're kind of in a funk, kind of playing the same games, this is a great resource to just look through, and they step through why it's helpful, and kind of show it being played. So those blogs are very helpful. There's also blogs in here just about how do I teach if I have multiple children? How do I manage the lessons and the time and all of that? There's blogs in here about teaching kids who have different learning challenges. There's just a lot of helpful information here under the blogs. Okay, so a couple quick tips about teaching. Work on the floor when possible, especially with our level A and B'ers. Especially the games. It's just great. Get down on the carpet and play the games with them. It's actually a lot more comfortable for them. The best motivation, really for anybody, but for our kids learning, is going to be intrinsic motivation. And what I mean by that is where the motivation to do something comes from within us. We're wanting to do that. And kids are born wanting to learn and discover and ask and find out. And so we want to encourage that. External rewards can actually undermine intrinsic motivation. So if we're having to say, okay, if you finish that worksheet, I'll give you gummy bears, that actually is removing the internal motivation for doing that. And so we want to avoid that and really just encourage that love for learning. And it is just so important that we help our kids to enjoy math and to see it as the patterns and puzzles and games that it is. Okay, we want you to contact us. If you have any questions or feedback, we really want to hear from you. And so here at the bottom of every single book on the back, you'll see here's our website, here's our phone numbers, and email address. And so if you do have questions, then email or call us. People who are and have used this with their own children will be answering. If we can't, then we will find someone on up who can. And so this is just a great resource for you. We want you to succeed with the program and for your children to enjoy and understand and apply their math. Okay, are there any questions? Step on it. Okay, I see that Jay Bridgeford has a question. I just found all right here. Okay, if your daughter is slow with her addition facts, should you continue with the lessons or slow down? So if she is understanding the concept of addition, then I would continue. Again, if she's thinking about the quantities and thinking what to do and able to use her abacus, working through this, and then I would just continue. You said you are doing the games to reinforce. Okay. She's just throwing them. It really takes time. And again, we're all built differently. And speed is not, it's very helpful if it's accurate, but speed is not necessarily a sign of intelligent, of more intelligence or anything like that. Some people are slower thinkers than others, and so they may need time to think through that, or it just may be a maturity. Okay, I'm understanding this concept, but I'm still getting better at it. And so, yeah, I would continue to just play the games. That's where you're gonna get more of an automatic response, leaving her abacus available for her if she needs it. But that's not, we're introducing that. She's not expected to have, be a speed champion at that time. She's understanding that concept. And so there's no reason to hold her back. She can go ahead and start building on it. Now, if you're getting deer in the headlights looks and complete confusion, then that might be something different. But if she does understand it and, it just takes her a little bit, then I would continue on. And the only other thing I would say is sometimes, especially if she's your oldest and you are kind of a quick thinker, I actually had to bite my tongue. I would sing the alphabet in my head to slow myself down so that I didn't speak too quick and interrupt that flow of thought for my daughter. Okay, Claire, you're asking if the RS level A is available on our website. I don't think it's updated yet. Maren, maybe you can help me out on that, but it will be very soon if it's not out there yet. A previous version is out there for you.
Actually, the level A, Eve, is posted, and it's exactly where you had pointed.
Okay, great.
Under the resources. It's out there. It's also on our YouTube channel, Right Start Math.
Perfect. Okay, so Claire, that is out there. Okay, let's see. Bracket Homeschool, you teach 11 first graders. Awesome. We have the homeschool version, which seems very conducive to one small group. Okay, yeah, there is a classroom version available for more children that really might fit your situation. And so I would encourage you to go ahead and call into the office and get more information about that. Okay, let's see. Let's see, Sarah, can you comment on the differences between RS1 and RS2 in level B? Struggled with RS1 level B with my oldest, but had a good experience with RS2 level C. Is it worth switching to level B for my second child? Level B, from my understanding, is the least changed. So it may be your child. The difference will be games will be more explicit. In the second edition, when to play them, there's some more tips on the side. There's more emphasis on helping the parent teach as well. So I think for level B it just depends. If you could get maybe at a conference at the end of the year, you may want to see if you can get your hands on one and look and see if the things your child struggled with there would be that much difference in the second edition or not. Let's see. Sarah, does that help? Okay. What sort of thing, and maybe you can call me if there's more specific questions, Sarah, we can talk about what specifically your daughter was struggling with, if that would be different for your second or if it's just different children. Okay, are there any other questions? How many games per week? Okay, let me finish with Sarah Cook. Felt like the lessons at the end of RS1B felt very fast, though concepts that needed more time. So that may be, you may judge with your second daughter if you stayed with first edition. If that was the only part, I'm kind of cheap. And so I would probably just keep that first edition and stretch out the end. If that was the only difference. If you felt like, again, I would try to go see a copy in person and see if that would help you or not. Okay, how many games per week should we play? I would play what was listed in the book. Definitely make sure you're playing the ones that are listed. If you go on a 4-day a week, then you could use Fridays for games, but I would just definitely make sure you're playing the games that are listed in the book at the minimum. Claire, we're going to do C next year. Do you recommend us doing second edition? We so far love second edition. Oh, I would absolutely stay with second edition. There would be no reason not to. And the other editions there, second edition C, there is some differences in there. And if you've already done second edition B, I would definitely use second edition C. Okay, and Marin is suggesting here 4 to 5 games per week. Thank you, Marin. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon.